So, how did you meet? If I asked this to you, would you know what I was really asking? Well, never fear. In today's lesson, I'm going to help you answer this question and talk about love in English. Hi, I'm Atena from Learning English with Atena. The topic of romantic love is a common one in daily conversations. So I'd like to help you learn some common questions about love, some common phrases and expressions we use to talk about love. Let's get started by talking about some common questions that someone might ask about love. If you are walking down the street with your boyfriend, someone might ask you, how long have you been together? This means, how long have you been dating? Or they might ask, how did you meet? This is the question that I asked you at the beginning of this lesson. And it's not, where are you meeting right now? Oh, I'm just walking down the street. No, they're asking, where was the first place that you ever met each other? And you might say, oh, we met at school, or we met at a bar late night when I was dressed up like a turtle for Halloween. There might be a fun story to go along with that. Another fun question is, where was your first date? This means the location of your first date. So you might say, oh, our first date was just to a restaurant. Quite simple and a common thing to do. I liked this one. How did you know that he was the one? Or how did you know that she was the one? This means that this person is the most important person for you. You will either get married, or you already are married, or you're just going to stay together for life. They are the one. How did you know that he was the one? Well, there is a lot of things you might say to this. But a common expression that you might use in response is, well, when you know, you know. It's this feeling you have inside of you. Well, when you know, you know. Another fun question about love is, do you believe in love at first sight? So, if you go on a date and your friend asks you, how was your date? You might ask this, do you believe in love at first sight? Because I think I'm in love. And you've only been on one date. Well, that is love at first sight. And your friend might say in response to you, understandably, is it true love? This means a real, deep, enduring love, not just something simple or puppy love, like we'll talk about in just a minute. Is it true love? Great question. And hopefully not after the first date, but at some point your friend might ask you, well, when is the wedding? And they might be asking you this as kind of a little joke. Maybe you're not engaged yet. You haven't actually said that you're going to get married to that special person. But your friend might be kind of hinting, when is the wedding? Or what's going to happen in the future? Tell me about your relationship. Alright, let's go on to the some common phrases that we use to talk about love. The first category of expressions are types of romantic love. we're going to talk about the most shallow leading to the most serious. The first most shallow one is an expression that I just used, and that is puppy love. Sometimes we use this to talk about children or young people when they have their first love interest. This is a crush. When they have their first crush, we might say, "Oh, young puppy love." And the next word is the one I just used, a crush. Sometimes we use this to talk about someone we know in real life, but you can also use this to talk about a celebrity. For example, so we might say, when I was younger, I had a crush on Brad Pitt, the actor. Obviously, it was something unrealistic, but it just was something that was in my heart, a crush. And as we amp up the feelings, we might say it wasn't love at first sight, but over time, I fell in love with him. Love at first sight. Have you ever experienced this? If you have, you might use the next expression, which is head over heels. You could say, I fell head over heels in love with him right away. Wow, that is a very intense experience. And this just means you can't keep your balance because your love is so strong, you don't know what's going on. You're just in this whirlwind of love and emotion. You fell head over heels in love with him. And once you move beyond puppy love, falling head over heels, you might say, now it is true love. Our love is true love. It's not just puppy love. You can make a comparison. It's not something fleeting and simple and shallow. Instead, what we have is true love, so romantic. And when you feel true love, it's getting serious. So serious. It's sometimes a word that we don't really associate with positively and something like love. But this is a common phrase that we use to talk about a relationship that might lead to a long-term relationship. Is there a marriage or a lifelong commitment? So your friend might ask you, "Oh, are you getting serious?" And they're asking about the enduring quality of your romantic relationship. Is this something that's going to last? You've been on 3, 4 dates already. Is this getting serious? Or maybe it's something that's not serious, and you might say, no, we're not getting serious. Or, I think we're getting serious. He might be the one. Our next category of expressions to talk about love are words to describe romantic love. And then we'll talk about some verbs to describe romantic love. The first one is a fun one, sappy or cheesy. Personally, I use cheesy all the time. Let me give you a little example. You could say, my boyfriend and I wrote a long letter to each other every day. It was so cheesy, but you know what? I love this. You can get the sense here that it's sometimes that overly sentimental. Maybe it kind of makes you feel like, oh, that's a little strange. Or maybe that's a little too much. But you know what? When you're in love, it's something that it's not a big deal. It's cheesy, but it's true. The next one's a fun one. Lovey-dovey. Lovey-dovey. And usually this has to do with a public display of affection. Sometimes we call this PDA. So if a couple is always holding hands and snuggling in public and kissing each other, we might say, wow, they are very lovey-dovey. But the opposite could be true as well. You might say, we're not very lovey-dovey in public, but I still really care for him. And that's just kind of personal preference, kind of a cultural thing too. Next, I want to tell you some pet names that they often use in the US to talk about their romantic partner or to address their romantic partner. So, instead of saying their names, you might call them or you might say this about them. You might say, babe, hey babe. You might say, honey, hon, sweetheart, sweetie, love, or dear. Hey dear. And you can really use any of these, but I do want to give you a quick little cultural note that in the US, if a stranger says sweetheart or dear, it's kind of rude. It's almost like they're trying to make fun of you. So let me give you a little example. Imagine that a woman, usually this is referring to a woman. Let's imagine that a woman is going to the gas station and she's about to put gas into her car, but she does something wrong. Let's say that she pushes the wrong button and she uses the wrong handle. Someone who is at the other gas pump might look over and say, hey sweetheart, that is not how you do it. Well, it's not really something correct that she's doing, and that guy added the word sweetheart, kind of to imply that a kind of stupid thing to do that you're doing wasn't a very polite expression. But if you're using this with someone you love, it's not a problem. Now, this is a very different from in the UK. Expressions like love or dear or sweetheart are used by strangers in a positive way. So this is a cultural difference in the US compared to in the UK. But if you're saying it to someone you love, don't worry, it's alright. And let's talk about 3 verbs that we use to talk about love. The first one is a lovely little insect to give you butterflies in your stomach. Have you ever been in love and you just have this feeling inside of you that's hard to describe? It kind of makes you feel maybe a little bit nervous, a little bit excited, all at the same time. You might say, when I first saw him, I just had butterflies in my stomach. We can imagine a butterfly fluttering in your stomach, and it kind of describes that feeling of discomfort but excitement at the same time. I want to know, is there an expression that's similar to this in your language? I know that some languages use other animals, other insects, and have really colorful ways of describing that feeling of excited but nervous love. So let me know in the comments what that expression is in your language. Have you ever heard this in a fairy tale, to live happily ever after? And this kind of implies that there are never any difficulties or problems. It's kind of an overly sentimental phrase. So we might use it in real life like this. I thought that getting married means that we would live happily ever after. But the reality is that marriage is a lot of hard work. So here we're comparing this fairy tale idea that everything is always just wonderful and roses and rainbows and happy. And the reality is that having a long-term relationship with someone is a lot of work. So we can use this in kind of realistic way too. And our final phrase, our final verb to talk about love is this one: to grow old together. This is a very romantic phrase. So we might say, my husband and I met when we were very young, but we look forward to growing old together. And this implies we hope that we will be together forever until we are old, and we will live through all of life together. We are going to grow old together. This is a phrase that you might hear in someone's wedding vows. As they get married, they might say, I look forward to growing old with you, because it's a very sentimental thing to say. Well, thank you so much for learning English with me, and I'll see you again for a new lesson here on my YouTube channel. Bye!